Do you feel the vibes?
What's up, YouTube? It's Carolina Calvin coming back to you with another video. In this video, I want to talk about since the NBA season just ended a couple days ago, I wanted to talk about the NBA awards. So it's going through Coach of the Year, Sixth Man, Most Improved Player, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and MVP. Now, I will be coming back probably later today with my predictions for the first round of the 2018 NBA playoffs. But this one, of course, I just want to talk about the awards. Quickly get into it. Starting with Coach of the Year. There's guys you can argue. Dwayne Casey in Toronto. No one expected that team to have the number one record in the Eastern Conference. He even had a better record than Golden State. Albeit Golden State's been dealing with a lot of injuries this season. I'm pretty sure if they were healthy, they would have had a much better record. But no one expected Toronto to have the record that they have. So he's definitely in the conversation. Quinn Snyder for Utah. The Utah team was a disaster early on in the season. Well, like at the middle point, especially when Gobert wasn't healthy. When he came back in, he was an anchor for that defense. And you can see, I believe they had the fifth seed. So they've been playing pretty good. And a team after losing Gordon Hayward from last year, to still make the playoffs at about the same spot they were in last year, definitely in consideration. But the guy I'm going to give it to is Brad Stevens, Boston Celtics. Now, the first game of the season, Gordon Hayward goes out with a gruesome injury, ends his season. Then, you have to put in, these young guys, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and these guys came in, they came in and played well. You also, Marcus Smart's been dealing with injuries all year. Kyrie's been dealing with injuries in the later part of the season. And come to find out, he's out for the playoffs. He missed, I believe, like the last couple of weeks of the season. And it sucks. You're going into the playoffs. You're playing a lot of guys inexperienced. You add a guy like Greg Monroe, who's kind of been a disappointment. He was a disappointment in Milwaukee. And now you go in, you don't have your two best players. And the fact that you still won, I can't remember exactly how many games. I know he won over 55. He's the guy I'm picking. Having to deal with all the changes, like I said, 3 impact players, battling, one being out for the season, pretty much the first quarter of the first game against Cleveland, losing Kyrie at the end, towards the end of the season, Marcus Smart dealing with a bunch of injuries, and you having to play younger players. He's definitely my pick for Coach of the Year, Brad Stevens. For Sixth Man, Lou Williams. I'm gonna go with Lou Williams. Eric Gordon is definitely up there. This guy's been balling. You watch Houston play. He's been balling. He's been playing. He's been pretty much that 3-and-D guy. A lot of James Harden, Chris Paul's drives. He's the beneficiary of your defense sucking in, him getting open. But he's been knocking him down. He's been playing really good defense. He's definitely in consideration. But I'm gonna go with Lou Williams, and here's why. That Clippers team couldn't score at all unless he was putting up the shots. And he averaged around 23. He hurt them defensively, but because that team was having such a hard time to score, I gotta give it to Lou Williams. Now, I won't be mad if someone picked Eric Gordon because he's definitely improved. I remember early on in his career when he was with New Orleans, he was a disappointment. But ever since he's come to Houston, his career has been revitalized. And a lot of it is James Harden. And you add Chris Paul, another guy who's going to make players around him better. And then, combine that with his play on the defensive end. I wouldn't be mad if you pick Eric Gordon. But I'm going to go with Lou Williams as my Sixth Man of the Year. Most Improved Player. I don't have any other guys to argue but one. Victor Oladipo. This is a guy who pretty much defines this award. Oklahoma City, it was a disaster. He was supposed to be that second best guy. Even though Orlando was a big reason why they were so willing to get rid of him, send him to OKC. It was a disaster. He couldn't make shots. and overall he just didn't play that well. Move over to Indiana, and this guy's been playing like an all-star. He's been playing like an all-star. And this is the Indiana Pacers team who they're fifth in the East. This is a team, after they got rid of Paul George, no one expected them to make the playoffs. Now, of course, they had some other pieces, Al Jefferson coming in, but no one expected the team to make the playoffs. And Victor Oladipo has been one of the driving forces behind, the way this team has played throughout the season. Definitely a team that no one really talks about just because it's the Indiana Pacers. But Victor Oladipo is my most improved player of this NBA season. Next, you go to Rookie of the Year. I'm gonna, guys, you can argue Jason Tatum, Boston Celtics, Donovan Mitchell, but I'm gonna go with Ben Simmons. And this guy's been, along with the Joel Embiid, has been one of the reasons the Sixers team has turned around. And this is the reason they've gotten all these picks. They've had bad luck with injuries. Ben Simmons got hurt his first year. He didn't even play a single regular season game. And a lot of people are really annoyed by that, just because he still had another year to go to the training camps and do all the off season stuff with the other NBA players. But he still didn't get to play a regular season game. But this guy, like I said, he's been one of the driving forces behind the Sixers getting that third best record. And they're definitely a team that people are going to have to look at. Hopefully Joel Embiid will come back in time for him to really make an impact on the team. But Ben Simmons is my Rookie of the Year. The only thing this guy really can't do, he's defending, he's putting effort on defense, he's rebounding, he's making plays, he's making other players better. Only thing he struggles with is his jump shot. You watch the games, he struggles with his jump shot on a consistent basis. But he is the Rookie of the Year for me. That's who I'm picking. Defensive Player of the Year, I don't think it's necessarily really close. I'm going with Rudy Gobert, and he was a big reason why that Utah team turned around. I talked about the coach Quinn, and how he is in consideration, but Rudy Gobert his play on the defensive end has been great this season. And it's a season where defense, you don't see a lot of really good defense in the majority of these games. Rudy Gobert has anchored that Utah defense, and I don't think it's really close for me as a defender, because I remember seeing a stat that I think the last player that won it, I think it was 1995, Dikembe Mutombo. Well, not the last player that won it, but the last time they brought up stats like points per possession or something like that. And the last player that had it that low was Dikembe Mutombo in 1995. It tells you all you need to know. This guy is a beast on defense. I'm giving Rudy Gobert Defensive Player of the Year. Like I say, I mean, if you could bring up another guy that you can make a case for, but I don't really think you can. So I'm going with that. And to the one that everyone wants to hear, MVP. Now, a lot of people say, oh, look at LeBron's numbers. Man, he had to get a new team. And the whole narrative of him making teams better, where was that when, these guys were struggling? Where was that? And that is definitely, to me, what hurts his MVP case the most. For me, that's what hurts his MVP case the most for a lot of people. The guy, and this was really close. Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, honestly, if I was voting, I would pick him. But I'm going to go with a guy who I think is going to win, just because I like to be right. And you can already pretty much guess it. I'm going to be right with that one. But Anthony Davis, when DeMarcus Cousins went out, I know soon after that, New Orleans went on a 10-game winning streak. Without him, they played better basketball. Now, Mirotic, Jrue Holiday, they were playing much better, especially Jrue Holiday. It's a guy that no one's been talking about throughout the season and on his team just because of the play of Anthony Davis. So you got to give credit to those guys. Anthony Davis, they've been playing better basketball with DeMarcus Cousins out, better defensively especially. because DeMarcus Cousins really hurts them in the pick and roll. If you watch the games, he hurts them in the pick and roll. But Anthony Davis would be a guy I would definitely vote for. And he's a guy that no one really talks about. You lose your second best guy, and you get better. You win. You start to win more games. You're allowed to start a lot less points. You put up more points. I mean, how can the guy, and your best player, Anthony Davis, has been balling. He's been playing great defense, and a lot of people don't factor in. They need to start factoring in defense to the MVP, because at this point, it might as well just be called the Offensive Player of the Year award. Because a lot of these guys that are in consideration, LeBron, your Westbrook or whatever, don't play defense. James Harden, they don't play defense. But Anthony Davis, he makes an impact on the defensive end. It's about who's the most valuable, not only offensively but defensively. Is he making impact plays to get his team more possessions, to decrease the chances of the other team scoring? Is he making those plays? I think those should be in consideration for MVP as well, not just Defensive Player of the Year. A lot of people say, well, that's why it's a separate award, but I think it's for both ends. That's just the way I look at it. But Anthony Davis would definitely be my vote, honestly. But the guy I think is gonna win, James Harden, #1 record in the NBA. A lot of people don't think that factors in. It definitely factors in. You do add a Chris Paul, but he's been able to mesh well with Chris Paul, and you got to give him credit. He's played well. I always talk about the things I don't like with James Harden: the flopping, the lack of defensive effort. But at this point, how many superstars play defense? I named a guy in Anthony Davis. He plays defense. You got Kawhi Leonard plays defense, who, by the way, played like 6 games this year, so didn't get to see much of him. But I think James Harden, the plays he made on offense, and he like I said, he makes some dumb ones, but the plays he made on offense and the team record, it got to a point where he had it locked up. Unless he would have just completely play like garbage, he pretty much had it locked up, and having the best record helps out a lot. I know that's a team thing, but record has been a factor in the MVP race. People bring up last year with Westbrook. That's because he averaged a triple-double. He averaged a triple-double this year, but the team is that OKC team has regressed despite getting Carmelo Anthony, a guy who can put up points, and Paul George, Indiana Pacers' best player from last year. But I think James Harden's going to win it. But my pick would definitely go to Anthony Davis. But that pretty much does it. Like I said, I'm going to come back with the first round predictions. It changed around with that last game, but I'm going to give the first round predictions. Probably going to come back with MG, maybe Mitch. We'll find out. But if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Thanks for watching.